welcome season 3, episode 1 of Coffee and Discipleship. Man, what a journey. Excited to be before you. As you can see, I'm standing this season, not sitting down, because this season we're going to do even more teaching. We're going to dig even more in depth in the Word. And also, I just differentiate season to season. We also have some wonderful things going on. So before I get into kind of setting the tone for season 3, which is what I'm going to do this season, please allow me to give you just a few pieces of information that'll benefit all of you who have been following along, who have been praying with and supporting us on this journey. Number 1, beginning with this video, down in the description, you will find a link to Patreon. Now, why am I doing that? First of all, I'm doing that because I want to be able to give you more and more resources there. And sadly, now let me say this. There's not a large fee if you want to be a part of that Patreon community. There's only one tier. There's not multiple memberships. You know, everybody that wants to be a part of Patreon is just $10. That's it. And the reason I'm doing $10 is because sadly, people do not steward free well. When you give things away, many times they just don't have the same level of stewardship. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue to give a whole lot of things away. But it also allows me to kind of put everything in this community in a concise way. So if you want to be a part of Patreon, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get the audio recordings of every episode. So we have video here. If you want audio, the podcast is going to be on Patreon. In addition to that, we have devotionals. If you really have been paying attention for the last 3 or 4 episodes, I've been putting devotionals down in the description. Just a 5-day devotional. I'll be doing extended devotionals in the Patreon community. Some 7, some 30-day devotionals. So those will be available for Patreon subscribers. In addition to that, small group studies. There are many people who follow along with the content, and you may lead small groups wherever you are. I know I have received some inbox messages and some comments about small group studies. They will be available via Patreon. And then we're going to also be doing some live videos. So live videos will be not only on this channel, because I'm going to talk to you about what we're going to be doing there, but also on Patreon. We'll do some exclusive live things on Patreon. So please, if you want to continue to get more out of this content, go to down below, hit that link, and join Patreon. Now, in addition to that, we are so excited to announce a partnership with Logos Bible Software. I am so excited to be an affiliate of Logos Bible Software. Grateful for the team there that has made that happen. And with that in view, in the description below, you will find a link where you can get discounted Logos Bible Software. But in addition to the discount, I am going to have one of my good friends, Pastor Matt. He's going to be coming on, and we're going to be doing an extended video on how you can use Logos Bible Software to increase your personal discipleship journey. This is Coffee and Discipleship. So we're going to bring Pastor Matt on, and we're going to do not only a Q&A, but a show and tell on how you can use Logos for your personal discipleship journey. That'll be live for everyone to see. In addition to that, on Patreon, we'll have some more in-depth studies on using Logos. So please go ahead and get signed up so that you can be a part of that. I'm excited for what is happening. There are more partnerships in play, so much more that I want to bring to you. And I'm excited for all of the leaders, all of those who are going to be utilizing these resources to take us further. Now, what are we doing in season 3? I will tell you, season 3 is going to be all about growth. Something happened over the last few months where God began to show me a growth process, a growth, I call it the growth chamber, where there are 4 particular stages that we go through as it pertains to growth. You believe, you behave, you become, and then you benefit. I'll say it again. You believe, you behave, you become, and then you benefit. Those are stages within the growth chamber. With this in view, all of season 3, we're going to be dealing with growth, but not just in this particular space. And this even goes back to Patreon. Here's my challenge to you, and here's my promise to you. By the time we finish season 3, we will have a completed ebook available for everyone on growth. And so as we're walking through this journey, I'm writing as I'm teaching. And so as we finish season 3, the digital download will be available for everyone. And I'm very excited about that. But that also means that those on the Patreon page will be getting access to the reading journey and the writing journey. And you'll be seeing chapters as they evolve and develop. So again, get engaged. With that in view, let's dig in. Growth. When we start talking about growth and what it means to grow and what it looks like to grow and how to grow, I think that we have messed up what growth really is in the body of Christ. Here's what we do. When we start talking about growth, we sadly talk about growth from the perspective of things instead of from the perspective of maturity. And so when we talk about growth, we say, are you in a better job? Are you in a better house, a better neighborhood? Do you have a better car? Is your credit score increasing? Are you healthier? Now, again, all of those things are fine, but growth begins with, are you more mature? I'll say it again. Growth begins with, are you more mature? Because if we focus growing on things, then those who have not yet acquired the things actually feel like they're not growing. And the target becomes the acquiring of things and not the acquiring of maturity. Once we do that and we're focused on acquiring things, one thing that I've learned is it is very, very easy to acquire things even if you're not mature enough for them. You can find somebody who's going to give you a car. You can find somebody who's going to finance you a house. You can get a job, but that doesn't mean you're mature. And so as we deal with growth, we're dealing with holistic growth, not outside in, but inside out. And as we begin this journey of growth together, and as we begin to walk through this growth chamber, let me recapitulate that. I believe, I behave, I become, and then I benefit. So we ask ourselves the question, what do I believe? How am I behaving? What am I becoming? And then I can then make sense of what I am seeing from a fruit perspective, the benefits. But I have to kill a myth first in this first time together. And the myth is this: growth is not for the lucky. It is not for the fortunate. It is not for the elite. Growth is for the committed. Again, it's not for the lucky. It's not for the privileged or the fortunate or the elite. It's for the committed. You have to be intentional. Oftentimes we don't like that word. You have to be intentional about growth. And to be intentional about growth, there are things that you can control in the growth journey that is going to get you there. Instead of pointing the finger at the reason I'm not getting better is because of this circumstance or this situation or this person or this going on in government or this going on at the job or this person or whatever, There are things within all of our control that we can do in order to grow. So for those of you listening to this first episode, I want you to just write down in the comments, just as a place of accountability, I commit to growth. Go ahead, write that down. And then in your own notebook, I want you to write that as the first page. If you're taking season 3 notes, I want you to write it down. I commit to growth, because growth is going to require that we are intentional. And for those who may be saying, okay, I get it, but there's so much against me, there's so much going on as it pertains to growth, I just can't get those intentions in play. The first thing that I need you to do if you're going to grow is I need you to identify and be willing to eliminate distraction. Identify and then be willing to eliminate distraction. Identify the things that are growth antagonists. That is impacting my growth. That mindset is impacting my growth. That behavior is impacting my growth. And then once you've identified it, you got to be willing to do something about it. Identification without commitment to eradication will not grow you. I'll say it again. Identification without commitment to eradication will not grow you. If you want to grow, you want to mature, you want to get better, you have to identify those antagonists, and I am willing to eradicate those antagonists. Remember what the Bible says. I am pulling down those strongholds, and I am bringing them captive under the knowledge of God. I'm pulling that thing down. If you're struggling with even believing, because one of the things that the enemy does is he comes against our belief by causing us to get not only comfortable, but also to believe the lies of the devil that will never get there. Growth is God's mandate and God's design. One more time. Growth is God's mandate and God's design. Let's look at it in Genesis chapter 1. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. We know the verse. Growth is God's mandate and God's design. Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness. Let them rule over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the sky, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. God created man in his image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. God blessed them and said to them, what did he say? Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and rule over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the sky and over every living thing that moves on the earth. So please understand. Let's go one more verse. Let's go one more verse. Then God said, behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed, it shall be food for you. So please notice, God says, be fruitful, multiply, replenish. It's mandate, it's design. This is God's original intention. Be fruitful, to multiply and replenish. That means that growth was literally in the plan of God. Then God says, and I'm giving you seed. Here's seed. They didn't have to work for that. He gave it to them. I'll give seed to the sower. I'll multiply your seed sown. So God's original design was for us to not only be fruitful, multiply, and replenish, but within his design, he also gave us the seed to accomplish the mandate. What has happened is, over time, we have forgotten what God has promised, and we have settled into the lies of the enemy. So growth begins with maturing. And you have to be able to identify that mindset is holding me back. That mindset is holding me back. This behavior is holding me back. That habit is holding me back. And then eradicate that. For many of us, the reason that we can't grow is because we have behaviors that are growth limiters. All right? So what is the first thing in that growth chamber? I got to believe that. Then I have to behave. So before I change my behaviors, I have to change my beliefs. So that's why I started with Genesis 1 today. In starting with Genesis 1, I'm getting us to understand, hold on. If I'm not growing, I'm going against God's will. Because growth, I've already come against this myth. Growth is not more. Growth is not, I have more things, I have more money. We can't limit growth there. Don't confine growth to that. But growth, on the other hand, is maturing. It's bettering. It's strength. It's security, right? That's growth. And so we have to say to ourselves, what do I have that's limiting that? Think about areas that you feel that are weak. All right? So as you're looking at your notes, you already wrote down that you're committed to growth. You wrote that down. I want you to also, at the onset of season 3, I want you to write down the top 3 areas in your life, top 3 areas that you believe are weak. I want you to write that down. The top 3 areas that you believe are weak. Once you write those 3 areas down, I'm weak here, I'm weak here, I'm weak here. There are 2 things that I want you to put in your mind. Number 1, am I weak in an area that God doesn't even want me to be strong in? Watch it, because some of us are trying to be strong in areas we're not called to. Like, for instance, I don't need to go out and beat myself up to be a strong basketball player, a strong sports star, right? Why do I need to do that? That is not my call. That's not where God is pushing me to make a difference, to be salt and light in the world. And there's nothing wrong with whatever your sphere of influence is. I believe in spheres of influence. Everybody's not a preacher. Everybody's not going to be a business owner. And when God gives you a platform, you utilize that platform, whatever it is, for his glory. So, but I'm not going to start working on a skill set that God didn't call me to. That doesn't mean that I can't enjoy a game of pickup basketball. That doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is that I'm not going to sit up there and try to become some elite sports person while simultaneously neglecting the very thing that God requires me to be elite at. Okay, and so think about that. What are the things that I'm weak at? My top 3. And then you ask yourself this question: God, are these the things that I need to even be strengthened in? That's number 1. And then after you've gotten past those things, all right, God, you want me to be strengthened in these? What are my hindrances? What mindsets do I have that are hindering my growth in these areas? What behaviors do I have that are hindering my growth in these areas? And this is not a beat up session. This is a development session. This is growth. See, I just recently had a checkup. You know, you go yearly, you get your checkup. And when you go and you get your checkup and they tell you, hey, here's what's going on here, here's what's going on here, we need to work on this, we need to work on that, whatever happens in your checkup, don't beat yourself up over that. Utilize that as the blueprint for your growth future. Utilize that and say, okay, here's where I need to work. Here's how I'm going to change things. Maybe you need to change your diet. Maybe you need to increase your exercise, whatever you need to do. And the same thing applies to those areas that you are weak in. And so if you say, I'm weak in my time of prayer, I don't pray as much as I should. All right, what are my, because I just spent an entire season with limiting beliefs, right? So what are those hindrances that are coming against me praying? Maybe in a practical sense, the reason you don't pray like you should is because you're wasting too much time doing things that you shouldn't be doing. All right? And that's really, really simple. It's so simple. There's nothing spooky about that. There's nothing deep. If you want to pray more, every yes demands a no. So if you want to pray more, there are some things that you got to do less of. And then here comes this next piece. If we are going to walk with God, we are going to grow, because the journey with God is a journey of growth. What does he say in John? I come that you might have life and have it, pertaining to life, more abundantly. God doesn't just say, I come that you might have life, and however you live it, it doesn't matter to me. That's not what he says. He says, my intentionality, the reason I came, the reason that I'm here is that you have not just life, but have life more abundantly. That's a growing existence. That's a growth promise. That's a growth promise. And so even when you look at, and we'll dig more into this over this season, when we look at what the shepherd does, he leads me beside still waters. He leads me into green pastures. That means that he's leading you into growth opportunities. That's where he's going to put us, into places of growth. And he says, well, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil because you're with me. Because the journey with him is a journey where he's going to continue to lead you into places where you can grow. If you can get to the valley, if you can get through the valley, you'll get to your next still water. You get to your next green pasture. And so God will take you from pasture to pasture, from still water to still water, because that's what a shepherd does. That's what a shepherd does. You may be right now, as we're starting this season on growth, you might be in the valley. But if you can make it through the valley, if you can just keep walking with him, trust me, there's another pasture. There's another place you can eat. There's another place you can grow. But what you do, hear me, and listen very carefully. You use what you ate the last time he had you at the green pasture to make it through the valley. I say it again. You utilize what you ate the last time he had you by still waters and green pastures to make it through the valley. This means this. When God brings you to a place where you can grow all you can, so that as you journey, you've eaten enough, you've grown enough that you are mature enough to make it through that next valley. Some of us actually take growth opportunities for granted. And then when it's time to ascend, to go to the next place, you don't have enough spiritual nutrients to make it through a valley season. And so when God is trying to grow us, and he's going to grow us during this entire time together, first, you have to assess, all right, what do I believe? What do I believe? Are my beliefs in alignment with him? Because I got these things that I'm weak at. I have these things that are limiting, these mindsets, these behaviors, these habits, these people, right? I got these things that are limiting. So what do I believe? Is it in alignment with God? How am I behaving? Is that in alignment with God? And then from there, you got the becoming and the benefiting. Look at this in terms of phases. Your first two, believe, behave, and then the last two, become, benefit. Become, benefit. Becoming and benefiting are fruits of how well you participate and how well you commit to the belief and the behavior. Believe, behave, and then second part, become and benefit. And so over the course of this season, I challenge everybody, start making your list. You said it, don't forget you said it, that you commit to growth. And so as I'm making commitments to you, we're going to write. I'm looking forward to begin to communicate with all of you. We're going to get through this and we're going to grow together. Thank you so much for being a part of this channel. I'm so excited for season 3. I'm so excited for what is to come. May God bless you. May heaven smile upon you and give you peace. This is fruitful.